The medical bay of the Galactic Institute's orbital station hummed with the soft whir of diagnostic equipment. Cadet Leora Venn, a promising Veltharian medical student, stood frozen before the examination table, her 4 eyes wide with something between horror and fascination. Her crystalline skin had shifted to a pale blue, the color of deep confusion among her species. That should have killed you, she whispered, her translator struggling to convey the tremor in her voice. Sergeant Alex Raines sat on the edge of the examination table, bare-chested as holographic displays flickered around him. He glanced down at the jagged scar across his abdomen, then back at the alien student with an easy shrug. Yeah, it hurt like hell, he said, his tone casual, as if discussing the weather. Leora's primary manipulator appendages trembled as she gestured at the 3-dimensional scan hovering before them. Sergeant Raines, you don't understand. This injury, she zoomed in on the image, highlighting the damage. This punctured your primary digestive organ, severed major circulatory vessels, and compromised your waste filtration system. Any civilized species would have expired within minutes. You shouldn't have survived the initial trauma, let alone the infection that followed. Alex scratched his jaw, considering. Well, I was pretty out of it for a while. The field medic stabilized me and… Field medic? Leora's voice pitched higher. Sergeant, according to your service record, you were stranded behind enemy lines for 17 hours before extraction. 17 hours, with untreated catastrophic abdominal trauma. Around them, other alien cadets had gathered, drawn by Leora's increasingly agitated voice. There were Corthians with their segmented carapaces, Dendril whose bioluminescent patches pulsed with curiosity, and even a Zelkan whose methane-breathing apparatus hissed softly. How? One of the Corthian students clicked. How is this possible? Alex seemed to realize for the first time that this wasn't just academic curiosity. These beings were genuinely disturbed by his continued existence. He stood and several students instinctively stepped back. Look, he began, his voice taking on the patient tone of an instructor. Humans are, well, we're stubborn. Our bodies don't give up easy. Leora pulled up another file. This can't be an isolated incident. Her eyes scanned rapidly. Broken skeletal structures. You've fractured your primary support bones 12 times. 12, and you still walk normally? Bones heal, Alex said simply. Not like that. A Dendril student's patches flashed red with agitation. Optimal healing requires complete regeneration. Your species just fuses the fragments back together. With calcium deposits? That's barbaric. The student paused, searching for the word. That's primitive tissue welding. Alex couldn't help but smile. Yeah, but it works. Leora wasn't finished. She pulled up another scan, this one showing Alex's cardiovascular system. Your circulatory pump, your heart, it's just muscle. Unintelligent muscle that mechanically contracts. What happens if it stops? Well, that'd be bad, Alex admitted. Bad? Leora's skin flashed white with shock. It says here that human hearts can stop and then restart. How? Why doesn't catastrophic system failure occur immediately? We've got a few minutes, Alex explained, warming to the subject now. He'd spent enough time with alien species to know that humanity was unusual. But this level of disbelief was new. The brain can survive without oxygen for a short time. Sometimes the heart just needs a jump start. Chest compressions, electrical shock, that sort of thing. A collective shudder ran through the assembled students. The Zelkan spoke through its translator, voice bubbling through methane filters. This is nightmare biology. Your species operates on the edge of system failure constantly. One interrupted delivery of oxidized fluid to your neural cluster, and you experience permanent damage. Yet you evolved this way? Intentionally? I wouldn't say intentionally. Show them the poison tolerance. Another human voice interrupted. Lieutenant Chen, another exchange instructor, leaned against the doorway, grinning. Alex shot her a look, but she just shrugged. Leora's appendages moved frantically across her datapad. Poison tolerance, what? Oh no. Her skin cycled through several colors before settling on a nauseated green. You consume Class 4 toxins. For pleasure. You call it alcohol and coffee. You deliberately ingest cellular damage agents and neurological inhibitors as social activities. Coffee's more of a necessity, Alex said. And this capsaicin, Leora continued, her voice climbing again. You eat plants that have evolved chemical weapons to prevent consumption. You experience pain receptors firing, tissue inflammation, and you enjoy this? Hot wings are amazing, Lieutenant Chen offered helpfully. A Corthian student's antennae drooped. I need to sit down, but Leora wasn't done. She'd fallen down a research rabbit hole now, her medical training warring with her inability to comprehend human physiology. Your immune system. By the eternal lights, your immune system. It attacks your own body. Regularly. It stores memory of pathogens and creates targeted responses. Do you understand how insanely complex that is? Most species have binary immune responses, reject or accept. You've evolved biological warfare inside your own bodies. It's pretty handy against infections, Alex noted. Handy? Leora looked like she might faint, if Veltharians could faint. Sergeant Rains, your medical file indicates you've survived. Explosive decompression, thermal burns across 30% of your external tissue. 3 separate incidents of acute radiation exposure, blood loss exceeding 40% of total volume, and she paused, her voice dropping to a whisper. You once continued functioning for 6 minutes with a collapsed respiratory organ. The room had gone silent. Alex rubbed the back of his neck, suddenly uncomfortable with the attention. Look, I'm not special. Any human would have— That's the problem, Leora interrupted, her professional composure finally cracking. You're not special. This is normal for your species. You're the standard model. Do you know what that means? There are billions of you, all built like biological tanks, all capable of surviving scenarios that would kill any rational organism. All just walking around your planet like this is normal. She gestured wildly at the holographic display. Your species went to space in chemical explosion tubes. You invented controlled detonation as transportation. You looked at the void and thought, yes, let's go there in a metal can. And when things went wrong, because of course they went wrong, you just fixed it with duct tape and determination. Actually, duct tape is pretty useful. You're terrifying, the Dendril student blurted out. You're all absolutely terrifying. Alex exchanged a glance with Lieutenant Chen, who was barely suppressing laughter. He turned back to the assembled students, these future doctors and scientists of a dozen different species, all staring at him like he was a particularly disturbing specimen. We're not terrifying, he said gently. We're just human. Our planet was harsh, so we got tough. We evolved to endure because quitting wasn't an option. Yeah, we're a bit hard to kill. Yeah, we do things that seem crazy to other species. But that same stubborn refusal to die, that's what got us to the stars. That's what makes us good allies. We don't give up. Not on missions. Not on friends. Not on ourselves. Leora stared at him for a long moment, her skin cycling through colors as she processed this. Finally, she settled on a resigned purple. I need to completely rewrite my thesis on survivable trauma thresholds, she muttered. Everything I thought I knew is wrong. Alex grinned and reached for his shirt. Welcome to xenobiology. Humans are just the beginning. Wait until you study Graxian regeneration. As he pulled the shirt over his head, Leora noticed something else in his file. Her eyes widened once more. Sergeant Rains, is it true that humans can function on less than optimal neural rest for extended periods? This says you once stayed conscious for 72 hours straight? Alex paused. Yeah, during the Frontier campaign. Lots of coffee. Leora made a sound somewhere between a laugh and a sob. Definitely rewriting that thesis.